Welcome to Royalty Real's Real podcast. Real conversations, real people, real life.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your man Royalty Real here today, and I'm back with another podcast episode. Today, my guest is Shea McGee. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. She is an author. Quick backstory: I came across your profile on TikTok, and I saw that you were an author, and I'm supporting Black everything. So I'm like, and it kind of spoke to me too because I am an author myself. I'm writing now, so I'm trying to get tips from people and how do I go about what I do, because I'm writing two different books. One of them is a book from when I was like 16 years old, and I thought of this, and I'm finally bringing it to fruition. And the other one is an autobiography, so it's like two different genres of books, and I'm just getting started in it. So I'm like, yeah, this is different. So like, I was like, I think this would make for an interesting podcast. So I'm glad you were willing to come on.
Oh, thank you for asking me. I wasn't really like expecting it. I thought I'd have like some downtime. Um, but I was totally fine. Like, I'm glad that you asked.
Well, one of the first questions I have for you is, how did you get into the horror genre? Were you like a fan of the movies first, or was it
Yeah.
the books?
So I'm a very big fan of horror. So that is definitely what set off me wanting to even think about getting into the genre. At my actual first book, though, they aren't really horror, but they're horror adjacent, I would like to say. They're more of a dark fantasy books. But yes, my love of horror stems from films that I've watched over the years, um, as well as just reading.
Can
That
you
was
name
like
can you name some of the few that influenced you and had an impact on you?
Stephen King's one of them, of course, and then Octavia Butler. She's great. Also, Laurel K. Hamilton really got wanted like kind of got me into wanting to write even more, just because her style of writing is kind of similar to how I think I write. So it's just those are just a few, but there are quite a few other authors that kind of inspired me as well.
What about movies that influenced you?
Oh gosh, Night of the Living Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, uh,
Oh yeah, classic.
so many classics that I've watched over the years. But those are just like my main ones. But
Have you ever like gone back and gotten into the like Vincent Price era of things?
yes, actually I have. Yeah, I find myself going back to older films. The older I get, I what was it like? I had like a huge Vincent Price marathon because it he did a whole bunch of Edgar Allan Poe
Yeah.
films back in the day, and I'm a fan of Edgar Allan Poe as well. It's one of the first writers that I read,
Oh,
aside from Anne Rice, when I was younger. Probably had no business reading Anne Rice, but I read it anyway. Um, but yeah, so Vincent Price films, especially the House on Haunted Hill,
yeah.
amazing film. I remember like he had this one quote in there about how his wife, when she had a game that she was playing, but you didn't know that I had one that I was playing all along myself, basically. But it wasn't like that. But that's kind of like the vein of what he was trying to say. Like you thought you had your game, but I had mine as well, and I just happened to play better than you. So it was just like
Yeah,
I was like
Vincent,
amazing, stellar.
Vincent Price was a genius, and he had all of he even went as far as to have things in movie theaters and stuff like that that was scared the crap out of people. I can't remember which movie it was where he had the skeleton come down. from the rafter.
That was for that film. It was for House on Haunted Hill
Can
because
you,
there's a skeleton in the film.
can you imagine
Where...
sitting in the theater and that happens?
No, I cannot imagine that. Not
that'll
at all.
be that'll be a crazy experience. I know that
Oh, yeah.
people got scared and he had to stop doing that. But I mean, he really thought out what he was doing. So
Yeah, it was creating an experience, I would say.
right.
Like, not just you guys are already out here in the movie theaters, you're seeing this film, like, let's just add another layer to that. And it definitely did, I'm sure. I'm sure that was very memorable for whoever got to witness
Exactly.
that in the theater.
Whether it scared the crap out of you or it was great. Either way, you're gonna remember that. And you're gonna associate that memory with that movie. It made you feel something, and that's what I think art is supposed to do. Whether it's music or reading, you're supposed to feel something from this. You want to evoke some emotion from the person. Whether it's, oh, why did they do that, or like you want to have people invested in your characters.
Exactly, that's exactly it. You want your readers to care about your characters, about the story, and that's super important as a writer. Like, you want to build a connection with your audience. You don't want them to be, you want to engage them. If they're not, if you can't grab their attention in the first page, then
yeah, kind of like
you're dead in the water.
Kind of like a movie. My mom said if the first 15 minutes of the movie don't grab her, she's out.
Yeah. Like, if you're confused and you're like, I don't know what the hell is going on, like, what is this? Right. Never mind, I don't want it.
Right, I'm gonna turn this off. But it gets good 20, 30 minutes later. It's like, I don't want to wait for that.
No, I'm okay. But like, some things start off like that, but they also still grab your attention. Because I remember a lot of people, especially when I was watching Game of Thrones, they're like, "Oh, this is slow, this is boring. Like, just give it a second." Like, the first episode, by the end of the episode, you're like, "Oh my god, no!" Like, but yeah, like, but it's about story building. It's about character development. So, but even so, you still have to grab your audience's attention within, like, but almost immediately. So that first episode was wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's what with media period. Actually, I haven't gotten into the Game of Thrones yet. I'm thinking about it, but then I'm kind of like iffy if I want to go through it because I heard the fall off, and I really hate when I'm into the show and then to see it kind of like it was so great. What happened? So
no, I think you'll see there's some noticeable differences towards the latter half of the show, but
is it the writing or is it the writing or the cinematography that changes?
The writing.
I'm a really big fan of writing, so I'm really into what the writers do. Like, if you could tell me a good story, you really don't have to have that great special effects for me. Like, if you're telling me a good story, I'm in. So
yeah, no, like you're still kind of engaged in those latter seasons, like the last 2 to 3 seasons, I would say, where there's changes. Obviously, you can tell there's changes because they no longer have source material to go off of.
Oh,
yeah, because George R.R. Martin he's taking forever to finish his last 2 books. But yeah, I have the map of Westeros back here, but it's just you could tell the difference. But even so, you could still enjoy it. But as a writer, it's frustrating because you could tell that Dan and Dave just completely wanted to do their own thing and kind of messed it up.
Yeah, that happens to the best of shows sometimes, and it's disappointing to see. But you still hold on to the when it was great. I have a lot of shows where it's just like these first 3 seasons right here are unmatched. They could have stopped after that, but
exactly. That is what was so great about Game of Thrones. It was, I would say, one of the best TV shows on TV in history.
Really?
Yeah, it would grab a whole bunch of viewers, like millions of viewers. So it was definitely up there as far as the show goes, but you could tell towards the latter end that the writers just started not caring as much as they should have. Plus, I don't even want to talk about Dan and Dave because they did a whole panel and they basically just shat on the genre that they were directing and writing.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, this is for nerds, basically. And it's just like, how dare you?
Excuse me? I would
They're
have
like,
been
we want to
offended.
connect to, we want to bring in a wider audience. We want to have a broader audience and not just for, nerds or whatever. Like, you guys are trash. If you read the book, Dan and Dave, then you know that it's not just for nerds.
Right.
It's amazing storytelling. That's what it is. Anyone can read it.
Right. That's what I love about uh the writing as a whole. So you mentioned that you like Stephen King. He is my second favorite author behind Dean Koontz.
Oh yeah, Dean Koontz has be spitting them books out.
Really, he does. I started reading him when I was about 16 years old. So how do you feel about like when you see like Stephen King books adapted to movies? Do you feel like they should stay faithful to the source material?
It's a double-edged sword because you hope that the writer has something to do with the film
Right, right.
because that's most important. Like you're never gonna get the entire book into a film.
Of course, of course.
They're not realistic. But as long as I find that as long as the writer is heavily invested in like a show or a film, it does make it feel a little bit better because then okay, they're going to try to do the story justice. They're going to try to do it right. Um, but sometimes it just doesn't come off good. I know that Stephen King didn't really care for, right. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. He didn't really care for The Shining
Really?
because he didn't really care about that movie because of the direction that what was the director's name? He's very, very famous. He did A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, I know the name you're talking about too. I'm drawing a
It's
blank.
on the tip of my tongue, but it's killing me.
We have the
But
internet. I can look it up right now.
yes, please, because it's literally on the palette, but it won't come out. But he didn't really
Stanley
care for
Kubrick.
yes, he didn't really care for the direction. Like Stanley Kubrick has some really interesting choices. Like I just watched Eyes Wide Shut, and I was like, this is a weird ass movie. Like I didn't understand. Like it was kind of all over the place, that movie. So I can understand why Stephen King probably was just like, I didn't really too much care about the direction of the film for The Shining.
It's crazy because that movie is widely acclaimed as one of the greatest films in the genre ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the fact that Stephen King was just like, I don't know my favorites. But
Right.
I was just like, it's a good movie. I mean, yeah, it might be a little different than the source material, but it's a really good film if you had, if you didn't judge them side by side.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing as a reader. I think you and I probably both had a thing. Immediately when you see the name of something and you read this book already and you watched the movie, you're going in expecting to see what you read, and
Yeah.
then it's kind of hard to separate one from the other to see, okay, is this genuinely a good movie, even if it's not faithful to the source material?
Yeah. Because then you're going to be like, that didn't happen in the book like that. He didn't
Right,
say
right.
that. He didn't do that. So you start doing that.
There was
Like,
one of his that I read, and then I watched the movie like directly after, and like so it was fresh in my mind. It was Hearts in Atlantis. I think that's what the name of the book
yeah.
was. And the way that it was totally separate. Movie wasn't that good either. Like I
Yeah.
tried to separate it. The movie wasn't that good either. Although they had what is his name?
They have some big actors in there.
Yeah, they had some great actors in there. I'm like, it just wasn't that good compared to the book, and they left out a whole piece of it, and they closed off the story, even though like there is so much more to tell. You could have made a part two to this. Like, how do you cut it off a third of the way through the book? So,
That's a good question.
like, what?
Because you know what? A good movie that's based on a book that's actually really, really close to the book was The Lovely Bones. I read the book like years ago. And I remember reading the book and how it made me feel. So when people were like, because I didn't watch the movie, because I was like, I read the book. I don't know. It was sad. It was a very sad book. So when they made a movie from it, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna watch the movie. I don't know if I can do it. And because people are just like, it's so close to the book, like, nah, I don't want to go through that trauma. I don't want to do it. But I did end up watching it. Still made me sad.
Yeah,
I should listen to my first one.
I haven't read the book, but the movie was very heart wrenching. So yeah, I could imagine reading it and you're going through and it's much more descriptive. It's like
Yeah, and your imagination and
right.
your mind gets going, and you're just like, you have this whole thing in your mind reading it, and then seeing it is just like, oh, this is still breaking my heart. Still breaking my heart.
So I think you and I are kind of close to the same age range. I grew up reading the Goosebumps books. Were you ever into those?
Yeah. I read like a few of them, and then I was like, boring.
Those are the first books that I read from cover to cover when I was
Yeah.
young. Like I was in elementary school reading those, and I was like, I was a different kind of kid because I was less invested in TV and more invested in reading. And
Yeah.
so I would read and walk. And one of the books got me because I was into it so much that I was reading a part where it said, and he sneaks up behind her. And literally, I was walking to school, and one of my friends grabbed my shoulder as I was reading.
Yeah. I can see what happened.
I turned, oh my! But then when I got a little older, I realized how elementary the writing was. It was made for a younger audience anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't really made to capture you. So I started getting more into other books, and I started creative writing myself. When did you start creative writing?
Wow. Probably in middle school. Yeah. I would just write for fun, like for myself. But then my sister would read it and she's like, this is really good. You should keep going. And I was like, oh yeah. But back then too, I wasn't disciplined. So I would start something and be like, all right, this is cool, but now I got another story idea. I'm gonna just start on this one. And then it would just keep going on like that. So that's when I first started creative writing, but I didn't know that that's what I didn't know. Like I thought people just got picked to write. And if you didn't get picked to write, then you can't be a writer.
But
You
when did you
can't be a
start?
writer unless they pick you. And
When
so
did you
I
start
didn't
taking it more seriously?
I took it more seriously definitely when I got to be a little bit older. Um I After I had my first child, that's when I was like, yeah, I could probably do this seriously. Like this is like I didn't think that I could, but once I saw that self-publishing was an option,
Right.
I was just like, all right, like this, I can do this. That can be something I can do. So that's when I started doing it for real.
How did you go to school for it or anything like that?
No, I
Good.
just always was really good at writing. Always very good at it. My teachers would try to encourage that as well because they could see that there was a talent there. So they kind of nurtured that. Especially my teacher in high school, she would actually let me practice editing by editing students' classwork.
Really?
I guess, yeah, you could probably say like you're a teacher's pet for that
Nothing wrong
because
with
I was
that.
the only person allowed in her office. And she'd be like, I need you to edit these papers. And I was like, me? She's like, yeah. You won like the spelling bee in class, like every one of them. So I want you to edit these. So they kind of helped me as a writer.
Oh wow.
but it also made it very hard for me as a writer too, because now I can't not edit while I write. Like I'm one of those writers where I'm editing while I'm writing, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to just write. But yeah, it's been like that for me. Like I
So do you remember the first thing that you finished? Because you said you were would start another project. What was the first full story that you finished, and how long was it, and what was the name of it?
the first story that I finished was actually Voices on the Air, my first book. That
Oh,
was
really?
yeah, my first time ever actually finishing something. But I made it my business to finish it because I was just like, I can do it. Like I can actually create a story and finish it. I mean, although it did kind of leave off on a cliffhanger, it was still finished. It was a finished body of work. So,
How long did it
yeah.
take you to write it?
Oh God, that one. I think I started it in 2015, 2015, 2016. I finished it 2018 or 2017. I published it around then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that one took me the longest, but now this third book is kind of up there. So, because I started it, I haven't finished it yet.
I saw that you posted on your Instagram where you said you haven't written with the pen in a long time. So how do you write now? What's your process like?
My process right now, I don't have much of it because I just had a baby.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I've been like, I got the pen and the notebook just because I felt like I can't get to my laptop. I can't get to it. Like it felt so far away. So the notebook and the pen just felt a little bit easier, just taking it back to how I used to write. Like
Right, right.
in middle school, I would write in a notebook.
We didn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have a choice for real. But now it just felt a lot more natural right now for me to start, at least start that way, start a story that way while I'm in this next stage of my life, I would say.
Have you converted any of your books to audiobooks yet?
No, not yet. I definitely have thought about it though.
If you do, would you want to be the person that reads it, or would you want someone else to read
Oh God, no, I hate my voice. I would rather somebody else
it?
read it. I want somebody else to read it, not me. Someone like a more distinguished, lovely voice because I just don't got it. I just don't got it. And then after a while, I'll be like, oh, I'm tired.
Well, it is a process. I was looking at the process of Will Smith reading his book, and I just the sheer fact that it was 12 hours in length itself. Imagine doing that, and then you have to take into account the fact that you're going to make mistakes, and then the person that's directing you is going to be like, okay, you need to say it with this, even though it's your words, you need to
Yeah,
bring it to life.
yeah, they're gonna want you to bring out the theatrics. You're gonna have to be a voice actor with your own book. So that's what it would be like. And I don't think I have it in me to do that.
I'm
I think
actually
it'll be fun to voice act, but I don't think I can read my book and have somebody be like, I like this. Because I'm gonna mess up. I know.
that's the fun part, though. I'm thinking about voicing my own books.
Oh, well then that would be great because I wish I felt that way. I just feel like I'm gonna
I,
leave it to
I've always been told that I have a calming voice, although I don't hear it. I hate my voice, but
I
I'm
hate my
trying
voice.
I'm trying to step outside of myself and actually listen to other people, because I'm like, if enough people say it, I'm like, well, it must be something to it. It's just I think we get in our own heads, and it's just like, we have to live with our voices all the time.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And
which
it is being in your own head a lot more often than anything. Like you won't notice what other people see. And you'll often think, well, I wish I could see what you guys are
exactly,
seeing or what you guys are hearing. Because I don't hear it. I don't see it.
exactly. That's how I am. Like, I don't see it at all. I don't know what you hear, but okay.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
but I'm starting to build my confidence up in it. You know, I'm using my creative space more because I'm writing, and plus I have this podcast. Plus I'm working on music. I have like a multifaceted thing, and that's how I'm able to help with my writer's block, especially. How do you deal with writer's block?
Read, reading, lots of reading, engaging with other writers. Um, I'm trying to get back into seeing if I can do writing sprints because that helps as well.
What's
But
that?
mostly writing sprints, like when you just take like a block of time and do nothing but writing.
Okay, okay.
Don't get any distractions or let anything get in your way. You just set this time aside and write for that entire time. That's it. So I want to try to get back into that, but mostly I just start with reading because if I have a block, it just means that I'm out of something, and I really need to uh, feed that and get reinvigorated because yeah,
Yeah, it really helps me when I'm able to do other things to get my mind off. My writing block really comes from I feel like I get distracted or like I'm kind of bored with it at that point. And if I keep writing past, I can keep writing past that point, but it's not gonna be my best.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when I figure I'm getting to that point, I'm like, okay, I need to go do something else
yeah.
right now, so I can get back into this mode. So another question I have for you is when you're writing like uh your books, what do you have the story in your head already, like what you want to do, or do you have like, or do you just have a basic outline and do you let the story like flow out naturally, or how does that work for you?
So it's literally like a movie in my head. An idea will just often pop up. Mostly starts if I'm listening to music,
Hmm.
which is a big component of my writing. Music definitely helps me a lot.
What kind of music?
Um, you know what? That's a good question. It's like all sorts of music. Like it could be very moody. That generally helps. I find that I listen to a lot of atmospheric type of music,
Hmm.
dark orchestral
Hmm.
music as well. I would say I've listened like a lot of 80s dark wave songs actually helped me with
Really?
yeah, my books for the most part. So dark wave has helped me a lot. Um, but yeah, that's how I get my story ideas, mostly from songs. A song will bring out an idea and it'll play in my head like a movie, and I try to just write as much as I can while I still have it.
That's dope. That's really dope. So do you feel like uh you're boxed in because you're a woman, a black woman author? Like, you know, I feel like sometimes people only want to see certain things from us. You know, they don't
Yeah.
want to see you go outside of the box. You know, you can't write a story like Stephen King because you're not in that, you know, lane or whatever. Do you feel like you're boxed in?
Me, not necessarily, just because I know that there is an avenue for women, especially Black women, who write in the genre that I write. There are women who do write in the genre that I write, Black women that write in the genre that I write. So I don't feel necessarily boxed in, but what it is it's not as supported. It's not as looked for. Like people don't go looking for you like that. So you have to kind of put yourself out there and let people know, like, hey, this is what I do, and I write this. So if you
Right.
like this, you might like what I do. So it's you have to basically do a lot of your own promoting yourself.
Right, right.
It's marketing is not my strong suit, but I'm working on it
Me too.
because
To
it's not easy.
it is difficult marketing, especially within this social media world when there's so many other things that people are attracted to. So how do you get their eyes on you? You know, just for that split second, you
Yeah,
have to grab their eye for that split second because you know that there's a market out there for what you do, but how do you grab those people from those other markets and say, hey, look at me for a second? You're scrolling on TikTok and laughing right now, but I want you to see this for a quick second. So I know that it's a difficult process.
It is a difficult process. You just kind of have to be authentic, like as cliche as that sounds. You just have to be you and hope that people gravitate towards that and can feel that you're being yourself, you're being genuine, and that you enjoy what you do and you're not there trying to just tick off a box, I guess, and
Right.
just have something that they can connect with. Like that's the most important. Like have something that you have to kind of make people care about what you're doing.
Right.
You have to put yourself out there. And as hard as it is, it has to be done.
Yeah.
It has to be done.
Yeah. Uh, so you said, that there's, people really don't go searching for, black people with in general, especially black women. Uh, have you ever considered writing under a pseudonym, or have you written under a pseudonym?
No, I've never. It's never like crossed my mind. It's never crossed my mind at all. I think the only one time that it crossed my mind was when I was thinking about writing erotic horror. That's about it. Yeah,
Why,
that
why,
was
why would that genre specifically, if you don't mind me asking?
just because it would be such a departure from what I already do, and I wanted to. I was thinking about trying something really different and a lot more graphic, just because I know that I could do it. And I was like, it would not be necessarily me. Like people would not be like, "That's you." Like what? So it would give me an excuse. It would give me
Right.
an excuse to really go all out.
Have have you written anything like that yet, or are you considering writing something like that?
Considering it, I have one thing that is slightly like that. That is published on Vocal Media. Um, it's on there, but that's about it. Just the one thing.
Well,
And it's not as graphic as it's probably graphic because it's not exactly like how I write right now, but it's not as graphic as what I was thinking about doing.
you have to link me to that after this. Definitely, I
Okay.
want to read all of your work as well. Um, can you give me a quick synopsis of the first book, like and what it's about?
The first book, it basically introduces you to my character, Michaela Williams, who is a young Black woman working in an industry of pleasure, and she wants to make a career change, and she's thinking about it very heavily. She works with her ex, and they have a really good relationship, though. So, surprise, surprise. Um, and then he also has someone who's he's in a relationship with, working with all of them. So, but they get a new CEO, and he kind of just changes everything that Michaela had in mind for herself.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so her whole world just changes in that first book, and that's how we are introduced to her, and takes her on a very interesting ride in the second book. The second book, that's when she's trying to start to understand this new Michaela, this new form of herself. And yeah, so now the third book, I'm trying to wrap all of that up. And
Oh, you
a
trying to
nice
have
book.
that be that's the finale of her story? Like that's her character arc?
Yes, that is going to be the finale.
Oh wow. So you're taking
Yeah.
people on a journey with her.
Yes. Yes. It's going to be a journey for Michaela. She's going through a lot. She went through a lot in the second book. The second book, she went through a lot. First book, she just gets brought into the world. Um, she didn't want to, but it just happens.
What inspired her character? And what made you go with a female protagonist?
what inspired her character was, I think, my stage of my life when I was kind of in the same boat, like wanting a different career myself, and having obstacles, of course. Still, there are some obstacles, but in Michaela's, I guess, world, her trying to change her life, it kind of a bigger change came that she wasn't expecting.
Right.
That's how I think I inspired my character in her direction.
So what inspired the woman protagonist in the story?
What inspired me to write her? Or
Yeah, like to have a woman protagonist, or would you ever would you consider writing a male protagonist, or
I considered it. I have.
considered it?
Yeah. I mean, Michaela is my protagonist, and the antagonist in all of the books right now is someone who was supposed to be like the greatest of them because Michaela is a succubus, but they also do magic and they're a part of this greater sisterhood. So the antagonist was a part of that sisterhood, but she just went to the dark side. So I guess like Anakin Skywalker, she turned into a whole other person.
That always makes for a good story, especially if you're able to see how they made that change.
Yes, so she was one of the best of them. She was supposed to give them a little bit of hope, and she ended up becoming Darth Vader. So so that Michaela is now the one that is being messed with by this antagonist. So we'll see what happens with that.
I am very interested to dive into to your work. Another question I have for you: you said you see the movie in your head before you start writing.
Mhm.
So, have you ever considered making this your books into actual movies?
Oh God, like I never thought about that. Like I wouldn't even know where to begin with something like that. I never set out to write with a movie or a show in mind. But if that were to happen, that'd be really cool. But knowing me, I would like to have creative control because
Of course.
I need to make sure that it's done right.
Although movie making is a collaborative process, you want to be the head of that. You know, like final decisions. Like people can bring in
Mhm.
ideas, but if it's your baby, you know, like look,
Yes,
oh no,
exactly.
this is not how
Exactly.
she would never do this.
Exactly. Like I don't want y'all making these ridiculous changes
Right.
that just doesn't make sense to the story or to the character. Don't want that to happen.
I guess that's one of the best things about being independent is you maintain that creative control and you don't have to answer to someone else after you're finished because I know a lot of times authors submit their books to their editors and they're like, well, you should change such and such. Well, I don't want that to be changed.
Yeah.
That's very important to the character for me. So I think that is a great thing. I'm considering turning the series that I'm gonna write. It's I don't know how many books it's gonna be yet.
Mhm.
I know the story. Like it can't be fit into like one or two books. So
Oh wow. Okay.
and so like I'm actually trying to work with people before. Like it's kind of weird. The process I'm going through is I'm reaching out to people to help me write the screenplay alongside of it at the same time.
Yeah.
Even though like I'm not finished with the book yet, but they know the story, so it's a different kind of process.
I mean, what would your series be about? What is that?
Uh, I tell people it's a hood science fiction fantasy action story.
Oh wow. So it's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's the basis of it is follows the main character who I don't have a name for yet. I was gonna name the main character Wintrell when I was younger because I thought that really sounded cool. It was a mixture of my first name Eldon and my middle name Terrell. So I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds cool. But then some people have advised me to against that. It was like they don't think that sounds like a real person's name. So, but I might stick with it. He is based on the time of my life when I was in juvenile hall when I was younger, and I didn't know where I was going to be placed at. I was going to sent to a placement, and so I was like, "Where's the?" I started imagining places I could go.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagined that I would go to a different houses. So I imagine this one place where I went up to Northern California, and in Northern California, uh, I'm from LA area, Southern California, with
Okay.
a lot of gang activity. So I'm like, in that area, Bloods and Crips are not prevalent. I knew that already because I was, in there with people that were from there. And so
Mm-hmm.
the main character comes to a new place, nobody knows him. And so how does he begin to make himself known? He starts his own clique.
Oh wow.
And so he starts his own gang, neither Bloods nor Crips, and starts recruiting people from other sides to build something bigger. And so they sell, it's like at the beginning, it's like, okay, this is really fact based. This could really happen until you figure out his real plan, which is to figure out how to make more, like people be more. So,
Oh wow.
like to be like, have powers and things like that. And so he takes the drug money and builds its own underground area for his people, and it kind of goes from there. Once you figure out like how the heck does he go from being this hustler and selling drugs to having this grand plan to try to really take over the entire world.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Also,
But it's interesting too.
yeah. So I being started writing on this is like a journey for me because like I said, I was 16. I'm 35 now. When I first
Wow.
thought of it, I was 16, and like I've added so much depth to the character, and I know how I want it to end now. And like before, I was just like, this could go on forever. But now I'm like, okay, it can end at this point, and when it ends, people are not gonna want it to end, but it has to.
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
I created the character where it's like you're so invested in him, but it has to come to an end. And
It has to. Yeah.
the way that it comes to an end, it's like it's bittersweet. So
Yeah. That's awesome though. That's really cool.
so for me being a new author, what advice would you give to me and others that are diving into their first bodies of work?
Well, as a new author, you always want to trust and have your own voice. Have your own voice. Trust yourself. Be patient as well with yourself because there are going to be days where you're feeling like you're not really a writer. Like, and imposter syndrome is real. But just remember that everyone has, their own path, their own journey when it comes to writing. And just figure out if it's for you because it's definitely something that sticks with you for a very long time. So yeah, that would be my advice. Just stick with it if you really love it.
So you said you edit while you're doing it. Does that take much longer? Make the process longer?
No. Not really, no. It's just kind of automatic. Like I just kind of mindlessly do it. Like as soon as I notice something's off, I just fix it right there. It's just something that automatically happens. But you're not supposed to, but I do it anyway. But then I still go back and edit more later too.
Oh,
Because,
really?
yes, like just let it breathe after you're done writing it and then come back, I would say like a week or two later, and then you'll notice like those changes that need to be made.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said you're a really big fan of the horror genre. Do you watch American Horror Story?
I actually have, yes. I love American Horror Story. Love it.
So
I
one of the things I ask everyone that watches it, since every season is a self-contained story.
mhm.
Uh, what are their top 5 seasons?
Oh god. If I can even think of five, because my head is like all over the place. But my number one was definitely Coven.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That was number one. Murder House. I really enjoyed that one. What else? Asylum was really good. I thought so. Let's see. I did like Apocalypse. I did like Apocalypse. I guess that would be in the bottom. Hmm. And then I'm trying to think. I thought Roanoke was kind of fun, but I would say Coven, Murder House, Asylum, and then God, would it be Freak Show? No, it would be the election one.
Really?
Yeah, and then Apocalypse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's dope. I really felt they dropped the ball with Roanoke.
Yeah, they did. It
I feel
was
like
it was it was very it was like a departure. It was kind of interesting.
and it felt like they were trying to tell too many different stories in one. Like it starts off with the first family being in the house, and then these stars go to the house, and it's like what? Wait, what? Although Kathy Bates was excellent in that season, though.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
She was
but
amazing.
she couldn't carry the season by herself.
No, she could not. But she's amazing. Kathy Bates is great as an actress. She's a wonderful actress.
Definitely. So she's not new to the horror genre as a whole. So
Nope. She sure isn't. She's amazing. And in horror, definitely. That is kind of like the vein that she lives in.
right,
That is definitely she's she's up there as an actress for me.
yeah. But my top seasons are definitely not the last one.
Ah, yeah.
uh, Hotel is number one for me, actually.
I did like Hotel. I did like Hotel. But I mostly like Hotel because of the fashions.
Yeah,
The music and the fashions. But
right.
it was a good that was good too.
It was a slow build, but I predicted the end. Although I predicted it, like some people say, oh, it's predictable, so it's not that good. Although I predicted it when it was revealed that he was the killer, I'm like, I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
It was a confirmation. Like, yes, I knew it. Like the story still was great to me. So it was Hotel, Murder House, then Coven for me. Uh, after that, it's 1984. I think
Okay.
1940 was a really return to form, especially
Yes.
after Cult. And then to me, it's probably either probably a tie between Freak Show and Apocalypse.
Okay.
And then especially since Freak Show was the last time I cannot remember her name was on there because she didn't come back for
Jessica Lange.
yeah, Jessica Lange. Yeah. I feel like she was the glue for the show for the first few seasons.
Yeah, she was.
She played a great character. They finally brought her back in Apocalypse, but not for long. It was
Not for long, no. She didn't
yes.
want to keep doing it, I think.
But Hotel's my favorite, especially I have a scene where I talk about with my wife a lot. We say this all the time. Evan Peters' character, he was talking to the people around in the round table or whatever, and he said, grab my favorite libation. So we always say libation. And I think he's a very underrated actor as well.
He is. He is. And he's been through a lot uh,
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
show, with that series.
Yes. To be
Yeah.
able to play so many different characters, and it's like every season you realize it's him, but he drags you in and drags you into the character. Him and Sarah Paulson as well. But
Yes. Sarah Paulson is amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
I just watched this. I think it was you call it a thriller genre with her, where it was a she was poisoning her daughter. I heard it was based on a true story. It's on.
Oh man.
It was a Hulu movie where it was kind of really twisted, but she played the hell out of that role.
Oh wow. I bet she did. Well, she's an amazing actress, so
Yeah,
I believe it.
I really feel like if you want to get people that are great actors, you should really choose people from that show. And the directors and writers in that show really know who they want, and they're all their other shows are great too. So
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
so you said you did a career change and transition recently. What was the career change? What were you doing?
I was mostly in, I want to say, I did a lot of food service and a lot of retail. So doing something that has a bit to do with, um, a lot more to do with computers and helping customers. That was a bit of a career change, but I'm really trying to shift away from all of that and hopefully just focus on nothing but writing. So that is where like I'm trying to go. I'm trying to get away from all of that stuff and just focus on the thing that I really truly enjoy the most.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat right now where I'm trying to just focus on my creativity and make a career out of it because growing up, especially in the Black community, uh, my parents were like, that's not a real career. You can't
Exactly.
go into being a rapper and a singer and think that you're going to make money off of that. It's not realistic.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, well, why not? Why can't it be? Why can't I pursue my dreams? It happens for other people. Why not? And then we have the ability now of being independent where we can get our little audience, a niche audience, and make a living off of it because people want to buy what you're selling. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
well,
So
yeah,
I was hoping for that. Like, but yeah, like you said, like a lot of people will tell you that it can't be a viable option as a career, but it's what you make it. You
right.
have to work at it.
I refuse to look back in my 50s and say I wish I could have or I should have or do what makes you happy now.
Exactly.
And writing and stuff, I'm sure makes you happy. Just like it brings me joy. Especially when I'm to have the idea in your head and bring it to fruition. It's like, yes, it's like
Yes. Yes.
a joy. Like I did it, and then the reception you get. How's the reception been so far for your series?
It's actually surprisingly I do get pretty good reception. Like I'm really happy about that. Like people who do come across it, like they really enjoy it. Uh, so every little bit helps, especially me, to know like what people are really looking for
Right.
from me as a writer. That really helps me out a lot. Helps me out a lot as a writer.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. I really appreciate you sharing everything that you did. I look forward to seeing you become even more successful. I'm definitely going to purchase your books. I'm going to put the link for your books in the description of this video when I post it. And like I said, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me as well.
I really look forward to your work as well.
Thank you, and I would love to have you on again.
I would love that. That would be great.
Well, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Please go follow her, buy her material, support Black women, support Black businesses.
Yes.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. Peace.
Happen to me after the shit I ain't rapping for free. You gon' have to tap in with me. Management deals, income streams, the way I envision in my dreams.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Don't hate me cause I'm leveling up. I heard that fame is a hell of a drug, but it's gotta be better than that bullshit they selling to us. I wanna be so hot in the streets that they can't settle the buzz. King shit, homie, watch me sing. I'm about to do my thing. Yeah.